Welcome back to another episode of Healing You with Gloria Lybecker. I am your co-host, Anna Levin, and here is our lovely Gloria. How are you, Gloria?
I'm good. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I am so excited every time I get to talk to you because we talk about things that are very important in a lot of people. I would say everybody's, but today especially is dear to my heart. And today we're talking about parenting and how we become parents and how children are not born with the how-to manual, which we all wish they would, right?
Yeah.
Refer to page 92 when the baby's crying, but they don't do that. So I'm very, very excited to talk about you and for you to share your knowledge and experience on what are the key points to parenting and what can we do to be better parents.
Oh, yeah, this is really dear to my heart too. The main key for parenting is to choose to stay heart connected with your child, to always choose the relationship above any strategies that you might have, and especially time-based strategies. We have so much conditioning in our world and in our societies, and so it's really difficult for the human being to kind of stand out and do things differently. And yet, when you really choose a radical, different kind of relationship, you really get the benefits of it. And the children get the benefits that last them the rest of their life too.
Yes, absolutely. I can relate to that. Remember when my second born, you know how in pediatricians, sometimes they tell you to let them cry. And something inside of me was just not vibing with that. I did it for a month and it just felt awful. What I did learn, and I would love to know your input on this, what I did learn is that every child is different. And in the end, what really benefited my relationship with my children was me tuning into each one of them and really feeling what they actually needed at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, infants do not have the ability to self-soothe. And so if they are just left to cry it out, it really affects their ability to securely attach to their caregiver. They need to have warmth and touch, which will release the neurochemicals of bonding, the oxytocin, and they will be able to be soothed with warmth and resonance and a warm eye gaze. So it's important that the warmth reaches the eyes too.
Yes.
And once they're able to be soothed like that repeatedly, when the caregiver is able to tune into them and understand what their needs are, stay curious until they can discover what the need might be, then the baby is able to internalize that experience. And as they continue to grow, their care circuitry, which is one of the 8 circuits of attachment, it's actually the circuits of emotion and motivation, our care circuitry then is developed more fully. And there's really fascinating research that shows that when they followed like 30 kids up into their 30s, and those children that were actually held and cared and loved on more so than other children, they actually had less stress in their lives. So it was really amazing research to find.
So that seems to me a little bit almost like the opposite of what we are told when we become parents, because I saw, and as a former educator, I saw a huge emphasis on independence, on just toughen it up. And I didn't see enough, and maybe because, you know, I'm sensitive and I'm a lover. And so, but I didn't see enough of the, come here, it's okay. And then giving the strength and the love and the compassion and that space to children so that they can go and be confident and live fully, right?
Well, when we take time to slow down and meet our children right where they are, that actually is their experience to know how to be themselves, how they even make sense of their own life experience, and they get to know what their emotions' messages are for them.
Yes.
There was a time my 2 twin grandsons came to spend the night, and they were only 2 years old, and they were wanting to be big helpers for grandma in the kitchen. And of course, that took a lot more time and attention to let them support, but they were so excited about it. And then at one point, one of them reached their hand out towards one of my supplement bottles, and I had a knee-jerk reaction, and I just snatched it out of his hand. I goes, "No, those are Grammy's. We'll leave them alone." And he just went into this crumple, sad face. And so I slowed down and I checked in with him and I said, "Oh, Carter, are you sad?" And he said, "No, Grammy, me mad." And
Oh,
so I slowed down to hear what was going on with him. And he wanted to put it away. And I
oh,
said, "Oh, you wanted to be a big helper. You like to do things all by yourself?" And he's like, "Yes." And so by taking that moment to really listen to him, he was
mm-hmm.
able to process his emotion and name it and be empowered to do something different. And then he
Yes,
was happy to go on with his day.
I love
But
it.
how important it is to slow down in that moment and to
Yes.
own what I did.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's a growth opportunity for both parties, right? And for both sides.
Mhm.
And it's an opportunity to develop a deeper relationship. And you speak of strategy versus relationship base.
Mhm.
Can you speak and can you teach us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we all have the different strategies that we want to meet the needs. Like I want to have fun and I want to go to the beach to do it. Somebody else might want to have fun and they want to go to the movies. So neither one of the strategies are wrong, but what's the need underneath it? Is they want to have fun and maybe connection. A lot of times we can get caught up in our strategies for what we want to do that we're not really slowing down to be where we are.
Mhm.
So we're so caught up with the busyness of our life that we forget that we're in relationship with ourselves as well as our children. So when I can slow down, like my strategy was to keep my grandson safe, but I was totally missing the relationship by just rushing in and moving things on my own
Yes.
instead of slowing down and having a connection with him.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to savor each moment when
Yes.
we can choose the relationship from our heart.
Yes. And it's completely understandable that we're going to make assumptions, right? Because we
Mhm.
are protectors. That's one of the main things about being a parent is that you protect your children. So, of course, that's the first assumption. But I love the idea of slowing down and actually going deeper into, okay, what happened here? It's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. And I know that you are too, because you have a huge heart. And you not only that, you have clarity as what, how relationships work is
Mm.
that sometimes adults don't really give the children the space to express, we kind of like put them aside or, we forget that they have feelings, in other words. And I think it's super important to develop a relationship with them and really make a even bigger impact in their lives.
Yeah, to slow down and listen, to
Hmm.
listen to what's being said between the words or in the silence, and taking the moments for those is really important. Um, One of the things about slowing down to really hear their heart is not telling them what to do all the time. If you think about it, no human that I've ever met really enjoys being told what to do.
Yes.
Everybody really enjoys being in full choice about what they say yes to and being able to say no to something. So I want to encourage my children to be able to be empowered to know what they like in their life and to know what they would prefer not to have. And for them to be able to express themselves clearly and to stay present and in dialogue with other people, especially if other people don't agree with them, to let
Oh,
that be okay,
yes. Yes.
to savor their uniqueness.
Yes. Can you imagine in the world if we all were raised that way? We wouldn't have some of the issues that, which is, this is not the show to talk about the, society issues, but it's true. It all starts in those relationships, like you're talking about, at a young age. And parenting is something that many of us just become, and we're not equipped to really know how to do it. So it's also being patient with ourselves, right?
Yes, being patient with ourselves and making sure that we have lots of resources ourselves. It's one of the reasons I created parenting classes because I needed to resource myself. And where I was, I couldn't find those resources. So I started cultivating courses that people could come and we'd gather in community like we are today, and to be able to support one another and to have places where you can practice slowing down You can practice developing the skill sense of how to empathize. How do you use resonant language in a way that connects hearts and opens doors?
Yes.
And, empathy isn't only for when somebody's upset, it's also when they have joy. So
Yes.
when you can resonate with your child in their grief and in their joy, then those big emotions don't need to scare and intimidate them when they're older. Or
Yeah.
when they feel anger, to know that that's really a powerful emotion that can be fuel to take action that
Yes.
really serves your life.
Yes, and what I hear you say when you're speaking is the importance of not making emotions wrong. Emotions are just emotions, and they're a guide, right? A guidance for us to get to know something about ourselves or about a situation.
Yeah, emotions are energy in motion, and they
Yeah.
link us to the beauty of the needs that lie within us when we can slow down to really touch that. So when you imagine what slowing down, what that does for you, you can sink into that ever so much more deeply.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. And um, one of the things that I realized in parenting myself is sometimes we don't we fail not fail but sometimes we let our children down because we don't know how to handle a certain situation, and like again with the assumptions of like I think I know better what's
Mhm.
best for you. And so you talk about ruptures, right, in relationships, and I think it's as important to know how to mend and come back together to a place of love and unity in the relationship with our children.
Yeah, yeah. I've called those different things over the years with my own children and also with my clients. We've called them redos or rewinds. And so little kids can do it much easier than adults. Adults, we have our patterns more deeply embedded, and we need to be willing to play with it a little more. So using some playfulness can really make a difference. But if there's been a rupture in the relationship, to slow it down, and first I'm going to want to take time to know what need was I attempting to meet when I did what I did. And I want to be able to have a clear observation so I can name that. And then when I want to check in with the other person, I would want to be able to tell them, oh, for instance, with my son, that perhaps I wanted him to go to an appointment that he had. And then there's a rupture with him because he is feeling really alarmed or anxious about the appointment. And I'm worried about the time. And so I don't realize I'm doing it, but just by looking at the watch and putting, are you ready yet? We need to get going. That's putting invisible pressure upon his system that then he, well, isn't able to make it out the door on time.
Yeah.
When I slow down and I realize what I'm doing, I can take a breath. I can check in with him and say, I was really looking at the time and I know that was really putting pressure on you. And I'm wondering, how is that for you to experience? And then listen to what he has to say.
Yes.
That just, for him to say something like, well, that just really puts so much pressure on my mom. I just can't even function when it's like that.
Right.
It's too
Yes.
hard.
I see a lot of children stressed out, and this whole revolution, not revolution, but abundance of anxiety in children.
Yeah.
It has to do with all these demands and the fast-paced life and not being able to express themselves. Most children, if you give them an opportunity, they'll tell you. If they feel safe,
If they feel safe. Yeah.
they'll be able to tell you, and that's so healthy. That is so, so nice.
Yeah, there was one time that's reminded me of this moment. I took my son in when he was, he must have been like sixth grade, and took him in. He needed to get testing done for school. And the tester was wanting him to read something out loud and then to mark it. And he was mixing up his words. And so the tester was then saying, well, you're reading too fast. Why don't you read it again? And my son got overwhelmed by that invisible pressure. And what he did is he just put his head down on the desk and said, I'm done. So I said, well, can you just give us a moment? So the tester left the room. I was able to come up close to him and I was able to check in with him, what was going on. And he said, it's just too much pressure to read it out loud, Mom. Can I just read it silently to myself and then do it? And I
Right.
said, well, that's an idea. How about we check in and see if she'll let you do that? So in the test, and he said, well, okay. And Mom, would you sit close to me too? I think that would help.
Yeah.
So there's something about the attachment that happens within children. It happens at different ages for different people because we each have our own continuum for growth.
Yes.
And so when there's a close proximity of the caregiver, it actually calms and soothes the child. So
Mm-hmm.
for me to just sit there, I'm silently giving empathy, and he knows he's safe and he matters, and he was able to complete his testing.
Yes.
And so that too is another way of making a repair, is slowing things down, creating a container that's safe, and allowing your child to be checked in with so they have a voice.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And then again, we have to be able to do that with ourselves. That kind of compassion. It all goes hand in hand, right? It's not, we
Yeah.
cannot do it for our children if we don't do it for ourselves. So
Yeah, many parents I work with, what they experience is the age that their child is where they might have had some kind of rupture in their own life.
hmm.
And so being able to slow it down so that they can have some empathy for what it was like when they were little
Yes.
gives them more compassion to see their child through new eyes,
Right,
rather
right.
than looking at your child and you're just doing that to the dog because you're being mean.
Hmm.
Well, no, maybe the child's really curious and is trying to play.
Right. And he doesn't know how to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's super, super key, is to remember how we felt so that we can have more compassion. It's like, I call it the 360 view, right? So you can see it from both sides. And instead of like, we get in this automatic reactionary, type of parenting, and no, you have to do this and you have to go to this college and you have to get these grades. And so,
Well, yeah, so a lot of parents tend to live their life through their children instead of recognizing, well, who is my child? What are they interested in? So it's
yes,
really important to wonder with your child. When you
yes,
go for walks, notice the pebbles on the sidewalk, and notice the leaves and the grass and the flowers. Notice what you notice, and notice through your child's eyes.
yes,
And when you play with your child, let the child lead.
yes.
That's really important. They will teach you so much when you take the time to listen
Yeah.
and really be in relationship with them rather than trying to teach them a lesson all the time.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. I have done both. Okay. So I
Oh, yeah.
confess, I confess. But it's not about perfection. It's about like having, and now my
Just being
children are,
authentic.
yeah, they're teenagers. And so we have different conversations and saying like, look, I'm a human being. I try my best and this and that. How did you feel about this? And we have really nice conversations. And it's important also for us to say, sorry, I'm sorry that I didn't, listen to you in a deeper manner, but now I want to, so let's make it right. And that's very healing. um,
Yes.
to have those conversations. I'm very grateful for that. I wasn't aware, when they were younger, about certain things. So we can always change and we can always become better.
That is the beauty of it because we have neuroplasticity. It's never too late to make the repair, and
Absolutely.
it'll strengthen the relationship each time that you do. And you're right, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being right, and it's not about being wrong either. It's
Yeah.
really about being authentic and honest and transparent and real.
My
Keeping it.
my stepdaughter, who is going to be 30, and she has a baby boy, another one on the way. She said to me, that touched me so deeply. I'm like, okay, you are so ahead of where I was when I was your age. She
Hmm.
said, my son is not mine.
Hmm.
And I think that is such a beautiful, profound truth. Our children are not ours. They're not ours to live our life through them, right? We
Yeah.
have the privilege and the gift of raising them, of having them in our lives and guiding them and loving them, but they have their own journey to go through. I thought that was beautiful.
Hmm. It is. So for me, when I'm able to raise my child to be self-connected and be able to resource himself or herself in the world, then they have everything they need
Yes,
wherever they go. And if they can stay curious and open-hearted, there's nothing they can't do, whatever they want to reach for.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. I could talk to you forever, Gloria, but let's let the audience know, how can they contact you, and so that you know all the beautiful things that you offer.
Yeah, well, you can go to healingyouShow.com and there will be resources there. And there's also a couple of parenting courses that they're online courses that they're going to be going on special in the next few months. So people might want to check those out too.
Yes, absolutely. I really encourage people when, again, when I was an educator, that's the thing that I was saying to myself, I wish I could just like develop a course for parents, because that's what I
Mhm.
saw that was needed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the children, it was the parents. So
Yeah. One of the courses is parenting with the brain and mind. And the other one is heart-centered parenting. So they're both really great resources. I enjoy going back and listening myself.
yes.
Yeah.
And they can do it online through your website.
Yeah, there'll be a link there that they can check it out. And it's a course that they can go at their own pace. And then there's people that have joined from all over the world that they'll get to learn with.
Oh, fun, fun. I love that. Well, this was amazing, beautiful information, beautiful heart that you have and share with us. And I think it's very actually practical information
Mm.
needed in this world. But I thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you,
And
Anna. Yeah.
yes, I will talk to you in the next show. We're going to be talking about youth. So we continue with the topic from a different point. But thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Okay.
Bye bye.